Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this week's edition of On the Mark, Straight Talk Across the Narrows. I'm Troy Liburd and I'm going to be your host for this evening. 2 hours of uninterrupted talk radio. And I think we're going to have a wonderful time tonight. Of course, at the top of the show, we always like to say a pleasant good night to all of our listeners and now viewers from the four corners of the world. On the Mark is an international show. We have people following from pretty much everywhere in the world. So if you are following us via regular radio, if you have that radio and you're tuned into 860 on the AM dial, we want to, of course, welcome all of you in. If you are watching us via Facebook, on the internet, if you're watching and listening via Facebook, we want to welcome you in. If you're watching via YouTube, we want to welcome you in. If you're watching via www.vonradio.com, of course, we want to welcome you in, and all other various forms of media that you can get us here at On The Mark, we want to welcome you. If you're listening or viewing the show from as far east as Taiwan and China and Japan and those areas where we have persons who normally tune in, I think it's morning over there already. You're already at Thursday, and so it's good to be starting off your morning, getting a little feel for what's happening on the home front, and of course On The Mark brings that feel to you. And if you're a bit closer to home, you're in places like Europe, you're in England and France and those countries where we have persons from the Federation living, it's the wee hours of the morning, and we appreciate the fact that you stay up, or you set your alarm and you wake up to be with us for these 2 hours on The Mark. We really, really appreciate it. And I want you guys to know that we do have people in Europe, people in England and so on, who stay up or who wake up to be with us live on The Mark. And sometimes I get the WhatsApp messages during the show, or sometimes I will get the calls after the show, and saying what a good show it was and so on. So we really, really appreciate folks from overseas who try to stay connected and who give us their opinion and so on. So we really appreciate the fact that you're up at midnight or 1 a.m. and those type of things. We appreciate you. And back here on the western side of the world, the western hemisphere, of course, where it's 8 p.m. For those of us who are on Eastern or Atlantic time, we want to thank you for joining us. This is prime time. This is when all those television networks and so on put all their prime time shows and so on, and we really appreciate the fact that folks on a Wednesday night would put down all of that and say, hey, let me listen to On The Mark, let me go and view On The Mark on YouTube or on Facebook, to be a part of what's happening in the Federation, to be a part of what's happening in Nevis. We really, really appreciate all of you. So to all the folks in Canada and the United States, in Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, in St. Martin, in Anguilla, wherever you are, we really, really appreciate you. In Antigua, if you're in the Windward Islands, St. Lucia, Grenada, if you're in Barbados, wherever you are, if you're in Dominica, I understand we have people in the French islands, Guadeloupe and Martinique, who sometimes tune in to us. If you're in Trinidad, if you're in Guyana, we really, really appreciate all of you. And of course, back here in St. Kitts and Nevis, the show is a staple. It's On The Mark, straight talk across the narrow, and we are really, really, really happy to have all of you listening and viewing. And if you're viewing, you would notice I'm in my blue tonight, and not just any old ordinary blue. I'm in my CCM blue tonight because, of course, we might be government ministers and so on, but we are politicians and we are part of the CCM party. We are part of the CCM movement. Of course, I hold the title as the chair of the party, and so it's important every now and again that we put on that CCM blue, because you never know. It might be time sooner than you think. And, you know, some people are already out there running up and down, so who knows, they might just get what they're looking for sooner rather than later. So ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark, Straight Talk Across the Narrows. You're here with Troy Liburd tonight. Let me apologize for the Honorable Mark Brantley, of course, who is the founder of the show. But as you know, he was off island for a bit. He went to the UN, and he's back. But you know, we all have to quarantine. The policy at the moment calls for a 3-day quarantine. So Premier Brantley is right now, I think, coming to the end of that quarantine. Ladies and gentlemen, at the top of the show, we always like to send out birthday greetings to all those persons who would have celebrated in the past week. And nowadays, you see all of the celebrations on Facebook, so people are able to, you know, I think nowadays folks are more in tuned with birthdays and so on, because they're putting them all up on Facebook, and the norm now is everybody goes to get their pedicure or whatever you call that. I don't know too much about those things, but I see both men and women now going to get their foot bath and all of those type of things. I think my aunt Pamela would have celebrated her birthday yesterday, and I looked on Facebook and they had all of this picnic and so on going on. So I want to say, of course, special happy birthday to you, and happy birthday to all other folks who celebrated over the past week. Of course, on the flip side of celebrations, we always have sadness. And you know, when somebody in the community passes away, it's a big loss for all of us, because we're a very, very small community, and so we always want to give a shout out to the families of all those persons who would have suffered loss. And Van Radio, of course, is located in Bath Village, so I start here in Bath Village, and I want to send out condolences to the family of Mrs. Hilarine Edwina Amri Jones, affectionately known as Dolly. And you know, I want to send out condolences to her husband, Mr. Euclid Jones, to her children, Karen, Roxanne, and Dwayne, her brother, Lynel Amri, well-known person, and her sister, Christine Amri, and all of those who are, you know, suffering at this point in time, all of those who are mourning. You know, we want to send out condolences to all of you. Also staying in Bath Village, and I want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Emil Claxton, who is better known as Sonny. I want to send out condolences to all of the family. Sonny is somebody who is well known throughout Nevis. He would have worked many years on Carib Queen, I think it is, and so certainly when I heard about the passing, I was with a few other gentlemen who knew him really well, and so we got to talking and so on, and you know, they had a lot of stories and so on about him. So I want to send out condolences to the entire family. I also want to send out condolences to the family of Miss Dulcina Wallace, better known as Baby. of Burden Pasture in Nevis, and she would have passed away at the very, very ripe age of 95. You know, certainly she would have lived a full life, and so I want to send out condolences to the entire family, all who are mourning the loss of Miss Dulcina Wallace, better known as Baby, of the Burden Pasture area. Sticking close to Burden Pasture, right in the Brown Pasture Coal Hill area, I want to send out condolences to the family of Miss Vanika Selkridge Liburd, better known as Myrtle, from right there in the Brown Pasture Coal Hill area, and she would have passed away at the ripe age of 84. This is somebody who I knew very, very well, and I know the family very well. Beverick, Tassia, Ellis, Magri. We all know Curtis, who drives the bus, better known as Jabas. We all know Ellis, who drove the bus Juggler. So very, very popular person, somebody I knew very, very well from my area, and so I want to send out condolences to the entire family. And I believe this funeral is going to be on Saturday. So it's always a tough time when you lose a loved one. So I want to send out condolences to the family of Myrtle Liburd from right there in Brown Pasture. Also want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Oscar Liburd from the church ground area, Brazier's Estate, officially from that area. I want to somebody who I knew very, very well. I've known him for many, many years. In fact, I call him TJ. Most folks who knew him well would call him TJ. I was very, very surprised when I heard about his passing, and I want to send out condolences to his wife Jessica, to the children, to his mother, and to his brothers and sisters, all people who I know very, very well. I think everybody knows Gary Liburd, better known as Rockers, very, very popular person, and so I want to send out condolences. I was also asked to bring condolences on behalf of the Honorable Premier, who also knew him very, very well. So yeah, sorry about that. Condolences to the family of Oscar Liburd. Still a very difficult one, because he was a very, very a young enough person, and so whenever somebody who is that young passes away, it's always very difficult. I also want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Leonard Elliott from Rollins. I think he was better known as I knew him as I knew him for many years, and in fact I only found out his correct name on his passing. And it's amazing how people in Nevis, you have a nickname or something like that, and that's the name that everybody know you by. I've spent a lot of time with I. So somebody who and I got along very, very well. He was a really good painter, As a matter of fact, when I had anything to do, he was one of the go-to guys for me in terms of painting and so on. Personally, when I had anything to paint personally, he would be one of the top guys to go and do that. So another very, very sad passing. When I heard about it, I was, in shock, but God knows best. I want to send out condolences to the entire family, to his wife, his mother, his sisters, all of the family, and all of the people of Rollins. I know Rollins is a tight-knit community, so condolences to the family. Also, we all know I have the role as the minister with responsibility for education, and we've lost quite a few people who would have been involved in education over the years, and so I realized lately that we've been having quite a few deaths, and we've lost quite a few persons who were involved in education. And I want to send out condolences to the family of Miss Hilary Amory Jones, and she used to work at the Ivor Walters Primary School, so condolences to the family, and also to the family of Yvette Jeffers. She would have worked at the Joycelyn Liburd Primary School, and then subsequently at the St. James Primary School and the VOJN Primary School. So I want to send out condolences to their families also. And I want to also send out condolences to the family of Mrs. Alvis Dyer. And Mrs. Dyer, as many persons would know, is somebody who would have contributed tremendously to education here on the island of Nevis. She would have started working in education in 1957 at the Charlestown Girls' School at age 17. She would have subsequently put in some 41 years working in the field of education. She was also very active with the Girls' Guides and so on. And so I want to send out condolences to Mrs. Dyer's entire family. I know that Miss Dyer was somebody who was very close with my mother. They got along very, very well. Mrs. Dyer used to be principal at JLPS when my mother worked there, and they've kept up a relationship long after that. And many, many years after, whenever I see Mrs. Dyer, she would come and say, my son, my son. And she would also give me a message to give my mother, whether it's a hello or something like that. So certainly to all of the family, to all of her children and so on, and the grandchildren and everybody in the Dyer family, I want to register our thanks for her many, many years of service, and also our condolences. I also want to send out condolences to the family of Mr. Frank Morton. Frank Morton, I think from the time I knew myself, I knew Frank Morton living in the Cleggott area. He would have served for many, many years in the education sector. His service commenced in 1950 as a pupil teacher, and he would have then gone on to get his teacher's training certificate in Antigua, and then he would have come back to Nevis and continued teaching. He would have taught in many different places: the Gingerland Senior School in the 1970s, in 1973, the New River All-Age School in 1974. He would have gone on to be the head teacher at the New River All-Age School, and then the Combermere All-Age School as the head teacher, and then the St. James All-Age School, then went on to the Charlestown Junior School as head teacher, and then he would have retired in 1989. So also somebody who I knew very well. His wife also taught at the Gingerland Secondary for many, many years. When I attended Gingerland Secondary, she was still there at Gingerland Secondary. Very, very pleasant folks. And so I want to register my thanks on behalf of the Department and Ministry of Education, and certainly on behalf of the people of Nevis for many, many years of hard work, and condolences to the entire family. I also, last but not least, want to send out condolences to the family of Mrs. Joycelyn Liburd. And as we all know, the Joycelyn Liburd Primary School is now named for her because of the stellar service that she would have given to education in Nevis, and to the people of Nevis, and to the people of Gingerland. Mrs. Liburd would have had a career that spanned some 41 years, starting in 1952, when she taught at the St. John's Primary School, and then at the Gingerland Infant School subsequently after that. Mrs. Liburd would have been a part of the staff of the Gingerland Primary School when it started, and then became the head teacher for several years, I think up to 1993. As a matter of fact, all of the years that I spent at the Gingerland Primary School, she was the head teacher. So she was my primary school head teacher, and for all the years after that, I've always referred to her as head teacher. So no matter where she saw me, even as an adult, that is how I would refer to her. Such is the respect that I had. So I want to send out condolences to the entire family, and especially to Abo, who is a good friend and a really, really nice person. So on behalf of the Ministry of Education, and all those involved in education in Nevis, we want to register our thanks to her. And her funeral is going to be tomorrow at the Gingerland Anglican Church, I think at 2:30 in the afternoon. These days with all this COVID-19 going around and so on, we can't get to celebrate people as we want to, as we ought to, as we did in the past, because of all of the restrictions and so on. But it does not mean that their contribution is any less than it was before. It doesn't mean that people still don't appreciate in the same way. It's just the times. Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark. As I said a little bit earlier at the start of the show, that the Honourable Premier could not be with us tonight, Mark Brantley, because I think it was last week he would have been at the United Nations on duty for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and right now he's in quarantine. But the Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs, if you follow his Facebook page, you would know that he had quite the eventful time at the UN. We would have made connections with several other countries, including formalizing ties with Egypt and other things. And one of the things that happened at the UN is that the Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs had a wonderful interview with the station WION out of India on the very, very popular show called Gravitas. I oftentimes go on YouTube and watch Gravitas regularly, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see Premier Brantley on Gravitas, representing the Federation, representing the people of Nevis very, very well. And all of the reviews that I have seen were positive. And so I thought that it would be really good that for persons who did not get to hear that interview, that we would play that interview here this evening, and then we could probably get some feedback on the interview. So we're going to queue up that interview right now and play the interview of Premier Mark Brantley on Gravitas.
Hello and welcome to Beyond. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay, and here's a question. Do you know what's the beauty of the United Nations General Assembly? Possibilities. The possibility of meeting new people, the possibility of having great interactions, and the possibility of learning new things. Take St. Kitts and Nevis, for example. A lot of us may not know very much about this country. It's short for St. Christopher and Nevis. The country is named after Christopher Columbus, the explorer. He sighted St. Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean in 1493. The islands were formed by volcanic activity, colonized by the British, and today it stands as a constitutional monarchy with a unique diplomacy. St. Kitts and Nevis is one of the only 14 countries to have formal diplomatic relations with Taiwan. The island country is also a current favorite among Indians looking to apply for citizenship in the Caribbean. To talk to us more about this very interesting island nation, I'm being joined by Mr. Mark Brantley. He is the Premier of Nevis, and he is the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Aviation for St. Kitts and Nevis. Mark Brantley, welcome to Beyond.
Thank you for having me.
It's interesting, St. Kitts and Nevis, as I just told our audience, is one of the only 14 countries to still have diplomatic relations with Taiwan. And you recently said, and I'm quoting, Taiwan is not only a friend, Taiwan is our best friend. What makes Taiwan your best friend?
We've had long relations with Taiwan. In fact, when my nation became independent on the 19th of September 1983, Taiwan was the very first country to recognize us and to formalize diplomatic relations with us. So we've had well over 3 decades of relations with Taiwan. And Taiwan has been there to assist us in every facet, in education, in healthcare, in our efforts at IT. So the people of Taiwan, even now, in terms of this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, have been there for us, the government and people. And so when we say that, it's because the relationship has been a consistent one, and one that